Hello, Phoenix Network. Today, before we dive deeper into post-traumatic growth, I think it's important to first acknowledge that if you're going through it right now, if you're dealing with some really dark, difficult times right now, well, who gives a shit about personal growth, right? You're just trying to survive. You're just trying to make it through the day, the night, the next few minutes. A friend of mine describes this as white knuckling it. The idea that you're balling your fists together so tightly just in an effort to keep yourself together that your knuckles actually turn white. As in, I'm just trying to white knuckle it through the day. Now, the reason that I'm reaching out to you in these videos is because if you're trying to white knuckle it right now, I know that there's an endless stream of social media feel-good videos out there. We're drowning in bumper sticker psychology, things that make us feel good or inspire us in the moment, but actually get us nowhere. With the Phoenix Network, we're trying to provide real actionable steps, practical things that you can do right now to try to ease whatever anxiety you may be having. Now remember, I am not a mental health professional. I'm just trying to share with you what worked for me when I hit my rock bottom. If you feel you need professional help, please go and seek it. But if you don't have access for whatever reason, I'm hoping that this video might give you some type of lead on some relief. Now, we all know that we have our minds and our bodies, and that these two systems are deeply entwined. We know that psychological stress can cause physical symptoms, like anxiety causing sweaty palms or your heart to race, or sustained psychological stress can lead to things like heart disease. On the flip side, we also know that the physical can affect the mental. Exercise can boost your mood, or chronic pain can lead to chronic depression. So if we're in survival mode right now, we're probably trying to deal with all kinds of physical and mental stresses. And they're all playing off each other, conspiring together to work against us, to make things progressively worse. So, to counteract this, we're going to have to do things that affect both the mental and the physical. Now, there are actually a lot of ways to do this, enough that I can't cover them all here, but I encourage you to explore a little. We're all going to respond differently to different techniques, so you're going to actually have to try a few and see what works best for you. Think of this as a jumping off point to explore other methods and strategies on your own. So maybe you're in some kind of mental or emotional pain right now. Maybe something's happened and you just can't stop thinking about it. You keep replaying it in your head over and over again, wondering where you went wrong, who's to blame, all that kind of stuff. Or you're stuck torturing yourself, creating all kinds of future narratives about what might happen or may be happening or could happen. You're just going crazy inside your own head and you wish you could get out, but you can't. And when we feel like this, we sometimes try to distract ourselves with work or hobbies or something. And I do recommend that. That kind of stuff can work to a certain degree, because ultimately distractions are just that. They're distractions. They're a surface kind of relief and definitely temporary. You can't engage with a hobby when you have to go to work. You can't distract yourself by working out or journaling when you're waiting in the car in the line for your kid at school. But you can focus on your breathing while you're in the car or at work. Instead of focusing on the anxieties in your head, you can consciously shift your focus to your breathing. Shifting your focus to something so basic can actually relieve an incredible amount of mental strain. A popular technique I know we've all heard of to achieve this is called mindfulness. Now, if you think that mindfulness is some kind of mystical, spiritual, new agey type stuff, then hear me out. Because neuroscience, neurobiology, advanced brain imaging, modern professional psychology have all identified mindfulness practices as having real physical effects. on self-awareness, emotional regulation, even as direct intervention for chronic pain. That's why it's been around for thousands of years. Mindfulness is no joke. It's a great tool that can be used in a variety of different ways. But in the context we're talking about, I think its real value lies in its ability to help us to gain objectivity. Because I'm guessing that right now, you are seeing things subjectively, from only your perspective. And when we see things from only one perspective, well, as humans, we tend to get emotionally attached to that perspective. So, may I suggest that what you may really need right now is some objectivity, the ability to take a big step back and see things from outside of just your perspective. Because when we see things objectively, now we are seeing the bigger picture. And now that we've taken that big step back and we're freed from our emotionally attached, narrow perspective, we can now make rational decisions instead of emotionally based ones, which are by nature not rational. Seeing things objectively, rationally, and being able to make choices and take action based on those views enables us to deal with the world around us and our responsibilities even when we don't feel like it, or where we might not be able to or don't know how to. So if you need to take action but feel paralyzed, maybe try some mindfulness exercises. These exercises are super helpful in those times where we feel tortured by our own thoughts. I know you know what I mean. It's easy to be plagued by our own thoughts, whether it's constantly repeating to ourselves negative stories about our condition, or replaying difficult moments over and over again, or always beating ourselves up with self-defeatist talk. Negative thought loops are easy for us to get stuck in. Mindfulness is a tool to help us get unstuck, so we can calm what's going on inside our heads and thereby be able to take action and think clearly regarding whatever immediate responsibilities we have to meet. Now, there's no shortage of mindfulness resources out there, and this is the kind of thing that once our website is live, you'll be able to go there and quickly find the resources that you need. But for now, let's remind ourselves that if we're stuck in one of those negative thought loops, it's likely because we have emotionally attached ourselves to these thoughts. You're feeling them so deeply, you've started to identify with them, making them one with the person you think you are right now. The person and the thought are indistinguishable. They have become one and the same. But you are not your thoughts. You are a much greater, much more expansive entity than just what you happen to be thinking right now. You just can't see that greater, more expansive personality because it's clouded by emotion. So, in order to peel our emotions away from our thoughts, we can do things like focus on what's happening right now in our environment and within ourselves. We might start by asking ourselves, what am I thinking right now? Why am I thinking that? Is what I'm thinking in any way related to what's happening to right now? No? Well, okay then. Well, let's have some thoughts about rooted in what is happening right now. Where am I right now? How does it feel to be in my environment? What are my five senses feeling? What textures are my skin feeling? What is my smelling? What am I hearing? What's going on around me? How am I feeling inside? How does all that make me feel? Make no judgments on these things right now. Just observe them. They aren't good or bad. They just are. If something makes you feel a certain way, that's fine. Go ahead and acknowledge it, and then keep observing your surroundings. What refocusing our attention on the now does is it frees us from the constant ruminating about our past or our future. When we're engaged with our surroundings and our present moment, we're suddenly not so concerned about the opinions or narratives that we've been telling ourselves. And remember, in the now is the only time that we really have control over how we feel and what we choose to do. We can't do anything about ourselves in the past or in the future, but we can have an effect on ourselves right now. Now, bringing yourself to the present moment can be as easy as focusing on your breath, which is why breath work is such a big, important part of every contemplative practice. Yoga, Tai Chi, meditation, even when an athlete prepares, you can see them focus on their breathing. Start paying attention to your breathing habits throughout the day, and you might be surprised by the things you start to notice. Now, why these kinds of practices are truly effective, why they are more than just a placebo, is because they are tied to breathing techniques that can reset the vagus nerve. Now, if you've never heard of the vagus nerve, we'll get more into that in future videos, but the vagus nerve is a system of nerves that runs from our brains down through our breathing apparatus and our digestive system. Functionally, this freeway system of nerves translates your brain's chemicals into physical sensations in your body. The vagus is the mechanism that helps us calm our body. It regulates our internal systems when we are at rest or when we're digesting food. But when we're stressed, the vagus can also push us in the opposite direction and give us that feeling of fight or flight, freeze or fawn. So when you're anxious, when you're in that fight or flight mode, but you take a moment to slow down your breathing, deepen it in such a deliberate and methodical way, you are disrupting those fight or flight signals and resetting the vagus to rest and digest. In other words, calm. Your breath tells your body to calm, and through the vagus system, the body listens and calms, and it in turn tells your mind to calm. A method I use to reset my system to calm is a simple 6-breath method. You take 6 deep breaths. On the in-breath, you count 4, and then you hold for a 6 count, and then on the exhale, you exhale for an 8 count. 4, 6, 8. That's it. 6 deep breaths. It's easy, it's quick, and it's immediate. Also, something else very fundamental we need to remember when we're wrestling with our hardest times in the moment is that ultimately what we are all wrestling with, what we are really trying to deal with, is change. As humans, we strive for longevity. We strive for predictability in all things in our lives. But most change is unpredictable. So we tend to view most change as negative. We fear change. We're wired with hundreds of thousands of years of hunter-gatherer programming DNA to fear change. So, in times like these, we need to consciously remind ourselves that change is the way of the universe. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same, from the smallest of flowers to the largest of galaxies and everything in between. Everything is in a constant state of change. Like gravity or electromagnetism, change is a fundamental force in life, in nature. Fighting against it is futile, but we don't have to fight change or just be grudgingly resigned to it. We can befriend it. We can learn to work with it. And when we shift our perspective on change in this way, we are now on the path to building a more resilient psychology. The true skill to learn in how we navigate our lives is how we navigate change. And we're going to talk a lot more on these kinds of topics, so I'll leave it there for now, and in our next video we will get back to the how of post-traumatic growth. But if you're suffering right now, hopefully this video has given you some practical steps in how to ease that suffering, even for just a bit. As always, I appreciate you giving me some of your time and your attention today. Please like and subscribe, and more importantly, please share this video with someone you love whom you think needs to hear this. And until next time, please remember, you are stronger than you think, and you are not alone.